Anemoiapolis is a game where the protagonist gets lost in a haunted underground liminal space, similarly to the backrooms, trying to find his way out through the never-ending surreal maze. Hi folks, I'm R, your narrator. If you have any video or game suggestions, make sure to send them to me on my Twitter or subreddit. Keep in mind this video will have spoilers, and with that in mind, let's begin. The protagonist is sent to investigate what happened to the transformer and why it is being drained of power. Leaving the car in the parking lot in the middle of nowhere, the protagonist notices a billboard stating, "Welcome to Anemoiapolis," which name he struggles to pronounce at first. The billboard seems to be an advertisement for a possible huge recreational complex. However, the advert itself seems to be old and worn out and has a huge red sign on it stating Anemoiapolis is closed. This may suggest that the developers of this huge to-be complex decided to give up on the idea prematurely. The protagonist finds the transformer he was looking for to audit. The transformer's doors are left open and it seems to be powering something it's not supposed to. Following the cable, the protagonist eventually finds a mysterious spot to which the cable is hooked up to. However, as he steps forward, he promptly falls into a mysterious underground pool. It seems that the mysterious project from the billboard named Anemoiapolis hasn't been deserted after all, but rather built underground. Now stuck in this huge complex, the protagonist must find a way out. As all the doors around the swimming pool area are closed, he is forced to investigate the diving board, where he finds what seems as a blood splatter, which may be an early indication that he is not alone in this giant empty complex after all. While exploring the complex, walking through tight corridors surrounded by rooms filled with underground pools, the protagonist, perplexed by the surreal surroundings, keeps on finding mysterious tickets. The tickets are needed in order to access various parts of the complex like the country club, movie theater, and many more. Everything in the complex seems pristine and untouched, almost as if it was built but no one ever had a chance to use it, apart from the protagonist being the first one. As the protagonist explores the complex, the environment starts resembling a huge recreational complex filled with food courts, pools, country clubs, movie theaters, conference centers, shopping malls, elevators, and more. As he walks around, he hears the communication coming from the speakers, which is strange considering there is no one in the entire complex as it is seemingly abandoned. The protagonist finds a golden elevator which claims to lead to the surface but is unable to get on it as it never arrives. Eventually, he finds an elevator which leads to the conference center. The environment feels more sinister and there are telltale signs that something must have happened there, all while holes being found in the elevators, buzzing noise, and what seems like a blood splatter on the diving board, making it safe to assume that the situation seems to become more and more dire. After leaving this strange place, he finds out that the only way he can access the surface elevator is by visiting different parts of the complex. Going through the empty corridors, the protagonist develops an unsettling feeling of being followed. Obtaining 20 tickets, the protagonist is able to visit the country club. The place looks like a giant never-ending maze filled with many golf holes and rest areas. The further he goes in, the longer each golf course becomes and the more difficult reaching each hole becomes. Finding some extra tickets, he proceeds to the next attraction in the complex, the movie theater. Walking through the long and empty red corridor, he finds an exit door which leads him to what looks like an abandoned shopping mall with empty stores and lights being off. Strangely, one of the ride-on toys in the middle of the mall turns on and starts moving on its own, which creeps at the protagonist and makes him run away. As the protagonist runs away, he finds several mannequins placed in various parts of the mall. However, their placing seems to change, almost as if they are following the protagonist. Once the protagonist gets to the movie theater, he finds the entrance doors to be closed. However, he jumps over and finds a cinema room. Once he enters, the film starts playing, showing images of rain, the city, and a strange machine. In the other cinema room, another film plays, displaying images of never-ending corridors and rooms, split up and overlapping itself, corridors and spaces almost identical to the ones the protagonist finds himself in. In the final cinema room, the protagonist finds a staircase and a strange elevator leading directly through the movie screen, emitting greenish light and a strange sound. Startled and scared to what is going on, whether he's losing his sanity or not, he proceeds to the next location. He goes on to visit the family tropical resort, which is an empty room filled with giant heaters, relaxing music, and a hot tub. One of the ceiling fan heaters suddenly falls, breaking the glass underneath, allowing the protagonist to enter the main area with the giant pool, stone loungers, slides, and more. Even though alone, strange things seem to happen as the objects around seem to be moving on their own, and each exit seems to take the protagonist back to where he started without an end in sight, stuck in a constant maze without an exit. Finally, the protagonist manages to find a way out and finds himself surrounded by pools, leading him back to where he initially started. A strange black shadow which appears and disappears suddenly seems to be following the protagonist and observing him carefully, confirming his previous unsettling feeling of being followed. Finally, the protagonist finds access point to the janitor's lockers, which unlike other parts of the complex look gloom and dingy. He finds writing on the steamy mirror as if right after the shower in the bathroom saying "keep moving," which further frightens the protagonist and makes him feel even more paranoid than before. Eventually he finds an exit which leads him to the giant fountain and the rest of the mall, making him stuck in another never-ending maze of empty corridors and giant rooms, followed by mysterious black shadows. There is only one final place he needs to visit in order to take the golden elevator and get back to the surface. Once inside, the doors to the elevator then suddenly close. The lights go off and he is taken up as a lot of light shines through the crack of the elevator. However, the door remains shut. The protagonist panics as he hears steps coming from the other side when a mysterious voice tells the protagonist to settle down, while the mysterious person proceeds to explain that out of all the people that went down, he is the first one to come back out. The mysterious person, even though impressed, considers his knowledge of the place a liability and decides to send him back down in order for him to find a lost friend. That's when the door shuts and the protagonist is given a staff's keycard and sent back down in order to find that presumable lost friend. The story of the game is quite ambiguous and leaves a lot to theory. Liminal spaces in general refer to the transitional zones or in-between spaces that exist between two distinct states of being. These spaces are characterized by uncertainty, ambiguity, and a sense of limbo. Liminal spaces can be seen as spaces of transformation, thresholds between two states of being, and provide an opportunity for self-reflection and personal growth, which in a sense may imply that what the protagonist is going through is not necessarily real, but a coping mechanism which helps him transition between two states of being. The fact that the place he fell into is so clean and well taken care of, even though totally empty, which may further imply what he's seeing is not really there. I've got a theory that this entire complex might be a limbo in which he is stuck in, somewhere between life and death. Perhaps he had not survived this gigantic fall and instead created the space in his head, as the Anemoiapolis billboard was the last thing he saw right before the fall, and as he mentioned, it would be pretty difficult for anyone to find him. Being in a limbo, maybe he has unfinished business and things that he's done in his previous life that he needs to resolve before moving on. Perhaps the blood spatter left on the diving board was an incident that was caused or led by him, whether intentionally or intentionally, that led to someone dying. Maybe the lost friend back in the Anemoiapolis, which the protagonist has to find before moving on to the next level at the higher floor. Moreover, the shadow people following him demonstrate supernatural abilities of appearing and disappearing suddenly. Perhaps they are agents of the limbo who are there to torment people, guide them, or stop them from actually progressing to go to the higher floor. The mysterious person that spoke to the protagonist at the end mentioned that they have a friend down there who didn't make it to the surface, and the protagonist must go and find them if he wants to leave this place. There were no other people in the complex apart from the shadow entities, which could be the agents of the limbo, so this could suggest that this place was specifically designed for the protagonist who had to resolve his unresolved affairs back in the real life, and the presumable lost friend that is still stuck in the Anemoiapolis, a place where he needed to do right where he did wrong, saving the person that he caused the death of in a pool diving incident, which could be displayed in blood splatter left on a diving board of a pool that he found in this place. And that's about it for this video, folks. What are your thoughts and opinions about the game? It seems as if there is a sequel in the making, so we can find out exactly who this lost friend is. Either way, it's been your host Star. Thank you for being here, and I will see you on the next one. Have a good day.